Hey everyone, today I'm going to be cleaning the mass airflow sensor in my 2001 Isuzu Rodeo. I do this from time to time, maybe once every other oil change, but essentially the mass airflow sensor sits right here and tells the PCM how much air is actually flowing through the airbox into the throttle, and it, I guess, uses that information to adjust fuel trim and other characteristics of the engine. And over time you can get particulate and carbon buildup on the mass airflow sensor, and it just affects the way the engine runs. So it's good to do this every once in a while to keep your engine running smoothly and at peak efficiency. So let's go ahead and get started. I've already unclipped all the 4 clips that hold the airbox down. We also need to undo the electrical connection here. It's got a little tab you pull out and that comes undone. Got another electrical connection here. This gray tab will slide out. I've already undone this one. And then you can squeeze, after you slide the gray tab out that way, squeeze with your thumb and forefinger together like that, top and bottom, and that'll slide out. Then there's a hose clamp here for this breather hose that goes over to the crankcase. So you can see I've undone that one. That'll slide off that nipple. And the last thing we've got to do, which I've already undone as well, is loosen the screw on this hose clamp so that you can lift up the whole assembly and wiggle it off of the throttle just like that. Now we can take this over, flip it around, and that'll expose the mass airflow sensor. That honeycomb looking thing, that is part of the mass airflow sensor. So let me reposition this, and we'll get set to go ahead and clean it. Alright, the next thing we want to do is disconnect this section of the boot from the rest of the airbox. And to do that, we simply need to loosen the Phillips screw on this ring clamp, which I've already done. And I've loosened this boot as well. It took a little bit of force just to break it loose. You don't want to. You want to be careful with the mass airflow sensor, so you don't want to bang on it or anything like that, or pry against it. But I used a little bit of force to twist it, and finally it broke loose. So now we can see the inner workings of this. Basically, it's got that honeycomb, and then it's got some like veins or whatever that it uses to measure the airflow. So what we want to do is spray mass airflow sensor cleaner from both sides in here and get off any residue or anything else that could be decreasing the efficiency of the readings that it's taking. So let me get my cleaner, and essentially we're just gonna, it's an aerosol can, so we're gonna spray up inside, and we're not gonna touch it. We don't want to touch any of these pieces, but we'll just use the aerosol spray to clean it and then let it dry, and then we can reinstall it in the vehicle. So let me grab my cleaner and we'll wash this thing down. Alright, so here's the product that I use. I picked this up at my local auto parts store. Obviously it's designed for this specific purpose, so it's safe to use on mass airflow sensors. And as I said, it's an aerosol spray can, so we're just going to come in here. I've already shaken it up, but I'm just going to come in here and spray down the sensor. You can see some of the darker areas that have buildup on them. I'll need to do this. I'm right-handed. I'm holding the camera with my right hand right now, so I need to swap hands. I'll probably set the camera down, but essentially we're going to give it a good spray on this side, then we'll flip it over and spray from this side. Again, we don't want to touch any of the internal parts here. There's some little very sensitive pieces in there, so we don't want to damage any of those. Just use the power of the aerosol to clean everything, and then we'll give it a few minutes to dry. Don't wipe it down with rags or anything, just let it air dry. This stuff evaporates pretty quickly, so it shouldn't need too long to dry. In fact, you can already see it starting to evaporate and dry off. And then once it's completely dry, we can reinstall it in the vehicle, the reverse of the same process we used to take it off. So let me get it clean, and we'll go ahead and put this back in the vehicle and see how it runs. Okay, I've given the sensor time to dry now, so we're ready to go ahead and put everything back together. So I'm going to flip this over gently and reconnect the air boot to the sensor, fit that together, and we'll tighten up this ring clamp, and then we're ready to reinstall everything back in the vehicle. Let me tighten that up and we'll get this back in the truck. Okay, I've got everything ready to go back in the truck now. Obviously, when you install this boot, you want it to aim towards the throttle body. Really, there's only one way it can go back on, because there's a notch in it right there that this little tab fits into. So now we just want to gently set this back down, kind of get it in position, and the first thing we need to do is reattach the boot to the throttle. I'll see if I can do this with just one hand. There we go. Like that. It's ready to be tightened down on the ring clamp there. Of course, we need to reattach this hose and reposition the hose clamp. And then we've got the two electrical connections on here and this one here. That's the actual mass airflow sensor connection. That'll just push up and click into place. And then we need to snap in the clamps for the airbox housing, and we're done. And hopefully, when I start it back up, the engine will run a little bit more efficiently. You won't really notice anything performance-wise, but hopefully in your fuel economy you might see a little bit of a gain from this. But if you keep this pretty clean, you won't notice a whole lot of difference each time you clean it. But perhaps if you have never cleaned yours before and you spray it down, you might notice a little bit of more acceleration or just general efficiency from your engine. But anyway, this is a really simple project that anybody can do. I think the can of cleaner cost me maybe $7 or $8, and it's just a bit of good general maintenance you should do on your vehicle. So I hope this video is helpful and enables some of you to do things like this on your own. Thanks for watching.